Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in once again to the dungeon of the Doctors of Doom Fantasy Football Podcast. We have a very special episode for you as this is our 50th episode, and for the first time ever, this episode is being recorded with the intention of uploading to Apple Podcast and Spotify. Now, we're already on those platforms, however, everything else we did before was video content that we uploaded there. This one we're actually going to know in advance, hey, this is going to be an audio stream, so hopefully we won't need the visual aids as much, but there are still going to be some if you still enjoy watching our content on YouTube. I don't know why, but hey, good for you. We're happy to have you. You can still watch it there, so it'll be on both places. I'm your host, Alex the Shark Sparks, and joining me are my compatriots, Mitch, Vinny. Say hello to everyone out there now on both TV and Radio Land.
So exciting. Number 50, huh? It's almost like Alex's next birthday.
Whoa. Whoa. I feel old enough as it is, boys. I don't need that one. Yeesh. Also, for those watching on YouTube, you can now see our new fancy artwork for the dungeon. You see our little wizard here inside his dungeon playing some foosball. All right, boys. Welcome in. How's it going? What's up with you guys?
Everything's good.
Good. I think, going 0-1 this week against the counterpart, Mitchell Black, has me with the Blues, but, it is what it is. If there's one person in fantasy world that I hate losing to, it's Mitchell, so...
I wouldn't know because I beat Mitchell this year, so that must be really painful for you. But I also lost this week. But before we go into that, actually, before we talk football at all, I think even though it's a fantasy football podcast, we got to talk about another sport. Guys, did you see what happened yesterday?
Yes.
With baseball or
the World Series?
No, obviously I'm talking about Major League Soccer. Yes, the World Series. For those who don't know, World Series Game 3 was yesterday. Dodgers and Blue Jays. Game gets tied up in the 7th inning, 5 apiece. Who's going to win it? Well, you had to watch for another 4 hours to find out because it went 18 innings. It's tied for the longest game. Well, it was the longest game by time, tied for the longest game by innings in World Series history, tying, of course, the Dodgers' own record from back in 2018. It was an epic defensive battle. The fact that there were 5 runs scored apiece through 7, and then not until the 18th was the next run scored. It was epic to watch. For people who think baseball's boring, and look, sometimes it can be. They play way too many games. Postseason baseball, when you get in a pitching duel, a game like that, man, that's wild. I didn't even notice. I didn't start watching till the 11th inning. So I basically watched an entire game because I started in the 11th inning, and it was epic the whole way through. I'll get your guys' thoughts and takeaways from it here in a second, but a couple of fun stats about the game itself. Shohei Ohtani, I think, Vinny, you were the one arguing that he had the best year ever last year, and I disagreed. Well, man, he definitely had one of the best games ever. He reached base a record 9 times. And just, by the way, that's not a postseason record. That is a Major League Baseball record. In the 100-plus years of Major League Baseball, that's the most time anyone has reached base in a single game. He got there 9 times. Now, well, maybe that's because he had 12 at-bats. No, he had 9 at-bats. He had 2 homers, 2 doubles, and then after that, the other team's like, we're not pitching this guy. They walked him 4 straight times, and then they decided to pitch to him again. They got behind in the count, and then just never threw him a strike. So he got a 5th walk that wasn't intentional because they wouldn't throw a ball in the strike zone. Only player ever to have multiple, 4 multiple base hits, extra base hits in a single game. So many crazy records. Ohtani was just wild. He was not one of the heroes of the game, ironically, but man, he had a great game. Boys, I have some more interesting facts about the game, but before I go on to them, any takeaways you guys had, feel free to share.
Yeah, a couple things. One, the game was just incredible anyways. I mean, there were amazing defensive plays, throwing people out at third, relays to throw people out at home runs, the pitching duel like you talked about. It was really fun to watch. And then for Freddie Freeman, now, when you're talking about ever, he's also now the only player to ever have 2 walk-off home runs in World Series, because he also had a walk-off, I believe, last year. So,
and that home run was dead center too. That the home run in the 18th from Freddie Freeman to win the game, it was literally pretty much right down the middle.
And you knew he had a shot because if you were watching, I want to say in the 13th or 14th inning with 2 guys on, he almost like he hit one to deep center and got to the warning track. You could tell off his bat he knew it wasn't out, but you were like, oh, that's pretty close.
Well, and they had a lot of like warning track hits late in the game that like were due to, and the announcers gave some stats. I apologize, I don't have them offhand, but they talked about how the temperature affects the ball, and the colder it gets because it was getting later in the evening, the ball doesn't travel as far. And they talked about there were a couple of hits that went to the warning track that like people got excited thinking the game was going to be over that landed in didn't land, but they came down in the field of play, so they got caught. And they talked about like 73% of balls hit at that trajectory throughout the course of the year in the stadium were home runs, but because of how cold it was, even a ball hit with that trajectory didn't have the carrying power to get out of the stadium. So the fact that his did, and it just barely got out too, like they had a chance, the Blue Jays center fielder had a chance at it. Like it was perfect. Storybook, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking of some other, go ahead, Mitch. We haven't heard from you. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. No, for me, it's like baseball's been pretty enjoyable to watch for a little bit, just because it's nice not to like. I've taken a break from baseball. Like I don't know. I think maybe the way the pitching's been and how they just swing for the fences and everything is kind of. I'm getting old, so maybe I'm just the old guy. Get off my lawn. But that was enjoyable to watch last night. It didn't seem to be too much like swing for the fences as your whole strategy type of thing, where I feel like, but yeah, no, that one was very enjoyable.
Yeah, so go ahead.
No, just kind of going back. I mean, Ohtani going technically 9 for 9 on being on base with 2 home runs and 2 doubles, 5 walks, and a lot of people are kind of bad mouthing the intentional walking, and I really don't mind it. Like they're still giving someone the winning run on base.
Their manager came out today and said they're probably just not going to pitch to him the rest of the series.
Huh.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, are we just sitting here looking at just like the most epic run in sport? Like it makes me look good because I was like, hey, I think he's going to go down as the greatest athlete of all time. Maybe not even just baseball related, but I think we forget just a week ago. He pitched 6 innings, gave up 2 hits, had 10 strikeouts in the championship series. Oh, wait, and in that same game, he hit 3 home runs while pitching in 10 strikeouts. And then he follows it up by doing something nobody's ever done. The amount of times that you can sit here and say Shohei has done something nobody's ever done in baseball history is just getting disgusting at this point in time.
And you know what the craziest part? All those great stats you just gave about Ohtani, the amazing walk-off home run by Freddie Freeman, neither of them were the hero of this game. The hero of this game is a relative no-namer named Will Klein. Now, why is he the hero? The Dodgers' weakness all season has been their bullpen, but their bullpen balled out. Specifically this guy. This guy came in to start the 15th inning. He wasn't on the team before the World Series. He had been down in the minors. He was not on the Dodgers postseason roster for any of the other postseason series. He got elevated for this one. He was literally the last guy in the bullpen. The Dodgers had no one left. So much so that the Game 2 starter, who was another Japanese player, had to use the translator to talk to the coach. But the Game 2 starter told the coach he was willing to give it a go. He had started Game 2, played a complete game 2 days ago. He was going to be their next pitcher up. So the Dodgers had nobody left. It was either go to him, who had already pitched 2 days ago, or go to a infield player, like a player in the field of play as a pitcher. So this was the last guy up in the bullpen. He comes out. He's only ever thrown 36 pitches in a game. Well, he threw over 70. He threw 4 scoreless innings from the 15th to the 18th inning, got the win, had multiple strikeouts, and was absolutely dealing. No one even reached base until that 4th inning that he was pitching. Just it was wild. Like talk about an underdog story. People loved it. I know I did. I like I talked about. I love pitching duels. So the fact that this relative no-namer who was not even on the team came out and was an absolute hero was really fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think if you go back and watch too, is after Freddie Freeman. Well, one, when Will Klein comes in after that last inning he pitched, in the dugout, they were all congratulatory, and you could just tell like he was the hero. And then Freddie Freeman hits the home run, and people were still celebrating Klein just as much as they were celebrating.
Oh, not only that.
After
the very first question they asked Freeman in the post-game interview about how the home run felt, he gives props to Klein. Like, before even talking about his own game-winning home run in the World Series, he's like, dude, Klein was a baller. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they clearly love that guy for what he did. He's going to go down as a legend for this game, especially if they win this series. He probably won't be on the team next year, but man, he'll be a legend for this one game. But yeah, he was, yeah, and in that fourth inning where, you know, he had a couple of batters reach base, like that's where it was getting scary, because like a couple batters reach base, and then I think he had a bad ball that went past the catcher, like barely kept in front of him, so they advanced the scoring position. They were on second and third. He was looking over the dugout, like giving them the signal, do not take me out of this game. Like, he was the one telling the coach, I got this. And the coach trusted him because he quite frankly had to. He had nobody left. He was old Mother Hubbard. Nothing was left in the cupboard. And he stayed in and he got that last strikeout. And man, that was epic.
Yeah. And, you know, not to beat the dead horse here, but Klein's background is he pitched 8 games all of last season for the Royals and the A's with an 11.05 ERA. Then this year spent most of his time in AAA for the Mariners before being traded to the Dodgers, and then he pitched in 14 games this year. But, like, this is a journeyman, and now all of a sudden he's literally a hero. Like, this was 0 to hero basically overnight, and I think that's, like you said, it's the coolest thing in sports.
And that's why, like, even though, look, baseball is definitely waning in the U.S. I mean, it's not my favorite sport to watch. It used to be called America's pastime, and maybe it still is, but a lot of the younger generation don't watch it like they used to. But if you aren't into baseball, like, these are the games you want to watch, and that's what's great about them. Like I said, I didn't start watching the 11th inning. I was watching the Chiefs game because I'm, NFL. But, like, you don't have to watch from the beginning. Just when you hear, hey, there's a no going, there's a no hitter going, there's a perfect game going, or something like this. Hey, they're in extra innings. Go watch that, because it gets so intense and fun to watch when, like, everything matters at that point. And I think that's one of the things that, like, takes away from watching baseball. A team can go have a 5-run first inning and, like, that doesn't necessarily matter. The game's not over, which is cool if you want the game to not be over, but it's also, like, kind of like, okay, well, it doesn't matter as much. Whereas, like, once you get to this part of the game, it can be so fun to watch. One other, not a record-setting thing, but just a crazy stat: 18 innings. Guess how many double plays there were in this game?
I don't remember seeing any while I was watching.
That's because there weren't any. There were no double plays in an 18-inning game that with no runs in in what was it, 11 consecutive innings, which is just wild. One other thing, we talked about all the stars. Speaking of maybe a star from the past, Clayton Kershaw came in for what's probably going to be his last ever appearance. He was brought in with bases loaded in extra innings, 2 outs, and he goes to a full count before he finally gets the guy out. I was so worried, like, oh, please don't let him throw a ball 4. Like, I'm full disclosure, I'm not a Dodger fan or anything. I know I lived in LA for a while, but I was never a Dodger fan. I grew up in the South. I'm a Rays fan. So, like, it wasn't like I was for the Dodgers, but I also, like, I didn't want the guy's last game to be the World Series where he walks the guy unintentionally to give up a go-ahead run in extra innings. So I'm glad he got that out. But I mean, it was cool to see, the old man come back out for one more go at it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. This is what I actually am probably a self-proclaimed Dodger hater. I'm an Angels fan. I don't like the Dodgers. I don't like the Yankees. Those teams that everybody likes, universally across the country, it's just hard for me to always get on board. But whenever I watch 2 teams and I'm like, I don't really know who I'm rooting for because I don't really care for the Blue Jays. They have a cool story. They haven't been there in a while. I found myself last night rooting for the Dodgers, and I was like, dang, does that mean I kind of like them a little bit? Whenever I don't know, like, or maybe you guys do this too. I'm curious your thoughts, like, on games you don't care about. Do you ever just, like, kind of end up having this, like, gut feeling that you, like, when something good happens for one of the teams, you just like that more, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I guess I'm rooting for that team now.
I think you
guys feel like that.
I think as fans we're programmed to root for the story, right? So, like, as the Will Klein story was developing, that definitely got me more invested in wanting the Dodgers to win. I will say, I'm big on trying to manufacture, because like you said, I wouldn't call myself a Dodger hater, but I was never a Dodger fan, right? Like, if I had to pick between one of the teams out in LA, I would have picked the Angels back in the day, because that happened to be my team name in Little League. But like, I'm not a Dodger hater, but I'm certainly not a Dodger fan. But I manufactured the fact that, like, okay, the Blue Jays are Canada, so I'm going to root for the American team. And I realize, it doesn't super matter. The players aren't Canadian or anything any different. But same with hockey. I root for the American team, even though they're all Canadians and Finnish players on the team. But anyway, so like I kind of manufactured a reason like, okay, I will be for the Dodgers because of the American team. But then as that story was developing, like the records that Ohtani was setting, the amazing performance of Will Klein, like it got me invested in the game to the point where like I kind of want to watch Game 4 now, and I didn't think I was going to be in that situation before.
Yeah.
As far as out here in San Diego, we don't take kindly to the Dodgers, so it's pretty easy to root in this World Series for people out here.
Yeah, well, I mean that is kind of like Alex and I are probably never going to root for the Chiefs in a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I get it, but yeah.
All right. Well, I just had to. I know this fantasy football podcast, and we spent 15 minutes on that, so we'll get back to fantasy football. But I just game was too epic not to talk about.
Well, it ties into what we asked this question a year ago, not just who's having the better year in sports, but I believe we asked how many years in a row out of the next 5 does Ohtani, or next 7 does Ohtani win MVP?
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're probably. I guess this year they're leaning towards Aaron Judge or Cal Raleigh.
There's just no way though.
But
it's just going to get voters are bored of giving it to Ohtani basically because he should be the MVP for the next 5 years.
Yeah, the problem with MVP, you've talked about this before, Mitch. I think you're the one that brought this up. Like people vote for the story, right? So like,
right.
It's not going to be a story if it's the same guy over and over until it's one of those things where like if you do the same dumb joke over and over, like it goes from funny to annoying to funny again if you keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those situations where it's like, when he wins the first couple, like, oh, that's so cool. If he were to win a couple more, be like, oh, this is annoying. This is boring. Want someone else to win. But then you're like, whoa, this has been a pretty big streak. He's won 4 in a row. Can he get a 5th? And now you're back invested. So it's one of those. It just depends on what story the writers who vote on it go with. But
I also forgot that they do National League and American League, so I'm pretty sure Shohei is going to win the National League. Yeah. I kind of forget that they do 2 every year.
I mean, the fact that you're in the World Series and the other team with potentially 4 games left to play, minimum 2, maximum 4, have already said we're not pitching this guy again. That just tells you how good he is.
Yeah.
Like imagine 10 years ago me telling you there's a team in the World Series who's going to intentionally walk the pitcher every time he's at bat. You'd think I was crazy.
Yeah. Also, 10 years ago, if you told me there wasn't a pitcher who completed games, I'd be like, "You're crazy." You're like, none of these pitchers are going to go past the 4th inning. Well, I think you're a little crazy.
Well, and that's why. I don't know his name. I apologize because I'm not a Dodger fan. But whoever their Game 2 starter was, like the fact that he did go a complete game was crazy in Game 2, and then 2 days later he's. By the way, just for clarity, it wasn't the manager who was asking him to go in. He got up and went and told the manager he was willing to try to go. Because he knew the Dodgers had no one left in the bullpen after Will Klein.
It's
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. The Dodgers had no one left in the bullpen. They knew that they were going to have like a third baseman or first baseman up there having to pitch. So he's the one that went, hey, I'll do it. Which I think is crazy after he went a complete game 2 days earlier, which, as Mitch said, it's the first time we've had a complete game in a World Series for like a decade. All right. One last thought on this game. Not necessarily about the sport itself, but more on the announcers, because I can't help but make fun of announcers when they say dumb stuff. It entertains me. During the 14th inning, the announcers did have a lot of fun banter. I will give them credit for that. It was fun to listen to. But in the 14th inning, they said, quote, "Look at these fans. No one has left yet. Can you believe it? It's a record-setting game in the World Series, which currently tied at 1-1. You couldn't drag me out of that game with a Mack truck. Of course nobody left. Like, what a weird thing to say. Like, oh, I can't believe no one's leaving this amazing thing." Also, they're on the West Coast. So, like, when the time they said that, it was like, I don't know, only like 10:30 in the PM. Like, okay. I can't imagine buying tickets to a World Series game, having it be that epic, and be like, yeah, I'm out. Yeah, at work in the morning.
I'm pretty sure I watched the walk-off, like, around 11 p.m. or so. So
yeah, it was almost 3 a.m. my time by the time I stopped watching. I'm on Central Time, so. Okay, let's get to football. So some football news. Do you guys? I know I've been talking a lot. I apologize. Do you guys have any football news you want to cover before I start going over some football news?
I'm good. We can just start it off.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So a couple of things. Obviously, feel bad news first. Cam Skattebo, that injury was nasty. I feel for him, and I feel for the Giants, man. Talk about bad luck, man. They lose Neighbors, now they lose Skattebo. Like it just when you felt like they had something going, they had like the right mentality, the right edge, and now they've lost their two biggest playmakers and quite frankly one of the big hearts of that team. So you got to feel for him. Hope he gets well soon. A lot of injuries this season, guys. A lot of injuries happening kind of around the league. Compared to last year where we didn't have that many. I guess it's kind of course correcting, but you just hate to see it.
Yeah, I mean, injuries are never fun to watch. That one was pretty bad. I'm not sure the extent of like the recovery profile. I think, dislocated ankle. I'm not sure how much else tore in there, but you just kind of feel bad for the Giants because I feel like you finally have like a story to rally behind, and now it's gone.
Yeah, and it's serious because he was taken to the hospital and had surgery that night. Like that's normally you prep for surgery. The fact that he was taken to the hospital and had surgery that night, like that's bad.
Yeah, you saw the people's faces, and when it happened, and you can tell it's usually a different injury when you can see how the players react.
Yeah, by the way, if you're listening to this podcast and you did not see this live, do not go watch the video. You don't want to see it. Just throwing that out there. Like, if you're into gory stuff, cool, you can, but that man's ankle and foot turns the wrong direction. You don't want to see it. All right.
Yeah, and at one point it looked like the bottom of his shin was trying to do a fist bump. It's
oof.
That's kind of what I noticed first. I was like, oh, that's definitely turning the wrong way. And then they showed like a side angle, and it was like so dislocated that it was just like a nub on the bottom of like his lower leg.
I just told people not to go look at it, and you're going to describe the whole thing? Come on, man. Anyway, speaking of injuries, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, still not back. After the bye, everyone thought he'd be back. He didn't go. The Ravens got that win, however, and everyone else in their division lost. The Ravens are still the favorites to win the division, which is kind of crazy to me. Can you guys, they're 3 games back of the Steelers and 2 games back of the Bengals, and they're still the favorites to win this division. What do you guys think of that?
Who do you have more confidence in?
Yeah, I think
Flacco.
the problem...
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I guarantee that if it was like with Joe Burrow, even if the Bengals were, 3-5 or whatever they are, it's a lot closer race, but there's just no real competition that I can see for the Ravens. I think they're just assuming the Steelers are going to lose quite a few on the way out, and that the Ravens win every divisional matchup from here out too, so it should give them a pretty big advantage. But I mean, it's crazy to think a 2-6 team is or are they 2-6? Yeah, 2-6 team is favored to win their division.
All right.
If they get that defense going like it should have been with the 2 corners that they brought in, they should be on track. I mean, the Steelers' schedule is not. Here I'll read it to you. Colts, not necessarily a win. Next Chargers, not necessarily a win. Next Bengals, that's a huge divisional game that they already lost a month ago. Steelers Bears, that's not a gimme. I know the Bears aren't great, but. And then Steelers Bills, definitely not a gimme. Steelers Ravens, and then Steelers Lions. So their only 2 games that they have easy for the rest of the year is 1 game against the Browns and 1 game against the Dolphins. Otherwise, the rest of their schedule is pretty brutal. I think that's playing a factor into the Ravens' odds, but whatever.
Yeah,
and the only team they've really beat the Patriots 21-14. Outside of that, all their other wins are Jets, Vikings, Browns, with losses to the Seahawks, Bengals, Packers. So
yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, there's a real world where even though they're 4-3, Mike Tomlin does not get his 500 record this year.
It's kind of like
keep in mind they barely beat the Jets. Like that was a close game.
It's kind of like the intelligence division this year. If there was one team that already racked up a bunch of wins, then it would be pretty much over. But since this whole division can't seem to get wins, it's pretty much anyone's game or anyone's division.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of, since you brought up the Steelers, and I'll keep with QB news, the Steelers did come out and say that they want Rodgers to return next season. So far, he's been fine. I think he's been average. Like I don't think he's been good, but he hasn't been bad either. I think he's just been kind of average. So do you think it's a good idea for the Steelers to want to bring Aaron Rodgers back? Also, do you think that Rodgers would return? Kind of two separate questions there, because like Rodgers all the time is kind of saying he doesn't know what he's going to do next. Is he going to retire? Is he going to go elsewhere? He didn't make the decision to fully join the roster until like a month before the season. So two questions here, boys. Do you think it's a good idea for the Steelers to bring Rodgers back instead of trying to move to the future? And do you think Rodgers would return? Given that the defense, quite frankly, has been bad. I think if the defense was good, this team would be in a good spot. But the defense has been bad this year.
I think it's an easy choice for me. Like, if you know that Rodgers wants to come back, then keep him and use him as like kind of this, try to figure out what your next quarterback move is. Draft some young guys, bring in some ex-backups who could potentially be starters, and try to plan for the future while also having somebody who can keep you competitive. I don't think that's a terrible plan. They're not going to be high enough in the draft picking order to really get anybody groundbreaking unless somebody becomes on the market that they're surprises on the market, which I don't really see being relevant.
Right, but I think I guess that's part of why I ask if they should move on, because like you said, with Rodgers there, I think they're going to be a 500 team, which means you're not going to get a great draft pick. Whereas if you try to move on, then you'll have a losing season next year, but then you'll have a good draft pick the year after. But yeah, okay, Mitch, what about you? Mitch, you there, bud? Vinny, are you still there, or am I talking to myself?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I hear you.
So I guess we lost Mitch. All right, then I'll just move on to the next story then. I kind of figured he would want to weigh in on Rodgers. But
Wait, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There he is.
What the hell? All right. Yeah, as your resident, I was trying to talk, but whatever. My mic was like, don't talk about Rodgers.
The fantasy gods were in our favor.
Yeah, not the fantasy gods, just the gods. Okay, so here's my question. From the Steelers' point of view, what QBs do you think you can get in free agency? Like a Zach Wilson, a Joe Flacco, a Kenny Pickett, because Joe Flacco's going to need to find a team next year if he's playing. Kenny Pickett.
Well, that's why. I agree. To your point, Mitch. I think that's why I said Well, first of all, Mac Jones would be the correct answer to your question, but
sure,
the second part of the question, or what I said was, you tank, right? You let Rodgers walk. You don't bring in a good quarterback. And
have they ever tanked though? Is this from the Steelers?
No, they haven't. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, that's.
So I'm
not saying intentionally tank. I'm not saying to ship off your pieces. I'm just saying take a year off where you just go with some rando, and if it works, great. But if not, you're more likely going to be, a 4-12 team.
So you let Rodgers go in anticipation that you're trying to play for like an Archie Manning type thing.
By the way, I'm not saying that is what they should do. I'm asking if that is what you think they should do.
Right. No, I don't think they should do that. I think that's a dangerous game you could play, because what if you're the Bears and you get Caleb instead of Drake May or Jaden? You know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong, he's looking great, but put Ben Johnson with Drake May or put Ben Johnson with Jaden and see how well they'd be doing. So I'm just saying that's a really risky game. What was the other number one pick that didn't do well 2 years ago, and then the second guy did good?
Was it Bryce Young? Right?
Yeah, Bryce Young and who's up?
Stroud.
Thank you, Stroud. So it's like you're playing a risky game there. Now, for the interesting, fun part of this question, from Rodgers' perspective, he ain't got much time left. So if he doesn't think he can win with the Steelers, he's not going to just be like, yeah, I like it here. All right, let me sign a contract. He's going to go to whatever team will offer him a chance at winning in the playoffs. So I'm looking at you, Minnesota, or I'm looking at, some of these other teams that might have a QB injury, like a Joe Burrow in the beginning of the year. Rodgers might, because he hates training camp, let's be honest. So he might wait for a couple of weeks like we thought he was going to this year. So I don't know if that's why the Steelers, I feel like, are getting out ahead of this is, hey, Rodgers, we want you because we don't think you're going to come back next year. And that's a PR move that saves us, because then Rodgers looks like the bad guy. Whereas if you don't release that statement halfway through this season, if you don't get Rodgers next year, it's all on Rodgers. And the Steelers are saved face.
That's a good point. It also makes people stop asking the question, right?
Yeah, I think the Steelers are putting this out there to get ahead of the narrative, which is they already know Rodgers has no loyalty to Pittsburgh. Whatever team has got the best option for next year that's willing to give him a contract, Rodgers is selfish enough to be like, see you later. So that's the fun part, is we won't know now until next season, but yeah, there's no guarantee he's going to be a Steeler next year, I promise you.
Yeah, and that's a good transition to a team that is going to need a quarterback next year that is positioned to make a deep playoff run. The Colts
The
have come
Las
out.
Vegas Raiders.
Oh yeah, that's the one I was going for. No, the Colts have come out and said that they want to sign Danny Dimes to a long-term deal,
Oh, they need to.
they do. My question is, like, obviously that's a great idea for them. My question is, did they wait too long? Because if you did this a few weeks ago, I think the price tag is a lot lower than if you do it right now.
I think
So,
we have a temp. Sorry to cut you off, anyway,
no,
Alex, but I think we have a template for this one. Wait till Daniel Jones gets blown up in one of the AFC playoff games against the Bills or the Chiefs, and then the price tag drops tremendously. Q and Darnold, who is supposed to be a 55, $60 million guy, but then goes out there and gets destroyed by the Lions. Who was it? The Lions last year in the playoffs. And everyone was like, wow, Darnold just played himself out of 50 million and ended up settling for somewhere closer to 35, 40. So I don't think any of us can truly answer this question. Imagine if Daniel Jones goes and beats the Chiefs in the playoffs. What's his price tag going to be then?
well, that's what I'm saying. Because the thing is, I think Sam Darnold did have to go. Look, I've been on the free Aaron Jones train for a while, but Sam Darnold was going to have to win in the playoffs. He wasn't going to have. Whereas, like, I mean, I linked that picture, and for those listening and watching, I don't have it available to me. There's a picture from a run this past week where, no exaggeration, you could probably drive two cars side by side through the hole the O-line made for Jonathan Taylor. Now, this is not
Yeah,
to take away from Jonathan Taylor. He is great. But, like, when your O-line is that dominant,
100%.
you, like, Danny Dimes doesn't have to go win the game. And I think that's one of the reasons he's been so much better as a Colt. Like, yes, they have a lot better pieces than the Giants overall, for sure. But when he was a Giant, they like, hey, we need you to do everything. Because
Yeah.
even though he had Saquon had no O-line, so Saquon only averaged 2 yards a carry as a Giant, right? So, like, we need you to do everything. Now it's like, hey, Danny, we don't need you to do everything. Just go out and play football and have a good time. And he's showing, hey, I can make these throws. Like, I can make these plays now that I have, like, more than 2 seconds of blocking. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't think he's going to have the same collapse that Darnold did, because I don't think he's going to be asked to do it all himself like Darnold was. And this isn't, again, I'm not saying do it all himself as if just Jefferson did nothing. I'm saying, like, Darnold was the one who had to make all the throws, make all the plays, because he wasn't going to have a 20 carry, 250 yard, 3 touchdown running back day.
The other thing I would say is we've seen this kind of before at Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was in a contract year with the Giants. He went and won one playoff game against, was it the Vikings? I think it was the Vikings. Was this 4 years ago? He won one playoff game, got a huge contract, and then sucked the next 3 years with the Giants and eventually went to the Colts. So, again, between Daniel Jones's history with getting a contract on the Giants after one playoff win and Darnold doing last year, I think the Colts are literally just going, we're not even going to, we're going to obviously let our fans know we're trying to sign Daniel Jones, but we're going to see what this price tag is come January.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but the difference is, I think it was this season here, Mitch. Like, the difference is he's still, even that season, he only threw for 3,000 yards and 15 TDs. Like, it wasn't like he had a great season. It's just, it was a season where they won a playoff game and they hadn't done that for a while,
Yeah.
so they were happy about it. Whereas the Colts, I think, are in a different situation because, like, he's actually playing at a high level. Like, I think he's playing at a much higher level than he
Oh,
did
for
this
sure.
season. So,
And
but
people
yeah,
take time
we'll
to
see.
mature. It happens. People are not robots. They're humans. They better coaching, better staff, better maturity, other things in your life going on. The human aspect. It happens. People. It's just NFL's too much what you've done for me now. And Daniel Jones might actually be like Baker, an improved quarterback, and that happens.
Yeah, look, like, not even at the halfway point, he's on pace to throw for over 4,000 yards, which he never came close to as a Giant, right?
Yeah, that's pretty
So,
bad.
um,
That's pretty
yeah,
bad. Everyone throws 4,000 yards nowadays.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah, I
go ahead,
think
Ben.
just on that front,
Yeah.
I honestly think what Daniel Jones is doing is different than what Darnold was doing last year. And I know that Alex, you're like, oh, did they wait too long to offer this extension? We talk about it all the time, even like in the world of fantasy football. Like, you don't really know what you've got for the first 4 weeks of the NFL season, right? There's just so much variability. There's so much. Is this really just preparation? Is this, from a stat perspective, like who's actually going to be good and sustain being good? I really do hope though that they get something worked out. I think it would be good for both franchises and really good for Danny Jones, obviously. But it's interesting to me to see there's a lot of talk around Shane Steichen, like, oh, maybe he's not as good of an offensive guru as we all thought he was. And it was like, no, you guys just gave him Anthony
Anthony
Richardson to
Richardson.
try to rally behind for 3 seasons. So,
Yeah, who are you going to grab next year as a Steelers? Anthony Richardson? Come on.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and I think it's the same argument made last year with Darnold. Like, I didn't think Minnesota should let Darnold walk because you know what you have with Darnold, you don't know what you have with McCarthy. They let him walk, and man, I bet you if you asked every single person in that front office privately, like not on the record, privately, would you go back in time and give Sam Darnold $35 million to stay? The answer would be yes.
Oh, for sure.
So
They better. They
yeah,
would better.
you guys are probably going to disagree. I think Danny Jones is worth more than Darnold. I think that he's just proven he can be successful. Like, Darnold was literally a one-hit wonder last year, where I think as bad as Daniel Jones was, I think there's like some glimmer of hope that he can be good. And you guys might disagree with that. I just think Daniel Jones is worth the money, where in hindsight, yeah, we can say that about Darnold, but I would be more comfortable paying Daniel Jones this year than I would have been paying Darnold last year.
yeah, and to Mitch, to your point, like the whole the whole like, did they wait too long? Again, I asked these questions intentionally, like with kind of like
Oh yeah,
prodding to make people answer. No, I agree. You can't. You're not gonna, after 3 games, you're not gonna give a guy a huge deal. That could be a terrible decision. But I do think they'll come to an agreement because, like you said, this situation has been great for him too. Same with Darnold. I don't think Darnold is the one who wanted to leave Minnesota. Minnesota just, they had a much cheaper option on the bench that they drafted with a high draft pick.
That's what it
The
is.
Colts do not. The Colts know Richardson's not their future. The Colts don't have anyone waiting in the wings to take over for Danny Dimes. So for them, there's no one that they like, oh, well, let's see, we have this guy instead, and maybe our coach is good enough. No, they're just like, hey, we'll give this guy the money. So
Okay, so if let's say the Darnold didn't, I know Vinny, like, and don't get me wrong, Vinny, I'm not going against anything or like that, but I'm just saying, let's pretend Darnold didn't have his Vikings year last year, and he went just straight from off season, whatever backup team, he went straight to the Seahawks this year, right? If I told you the Vikings year last year, he had a 66.2% completion rate, what would you guess his completion rate is now with the Seahawks?
uh,
68.
Correct,
when
68.
targeting JSN, like 95.
It's 68%. If I told you his QB rating last year at the Vikings was 102.5, which is very impressive. What is his QB rating right now?
I would assume something very similar, like 102, 103.
109.2.
Wow.
Yeah, if I told you his TD to INT ratio is 35 to 12 last year, what do you think? That's a what? A 3-to-1 ratio, right? What do you think his ratio is right now?
3-1?
Exactly 3-to-1, 12 TDs, 4 interceptions. And then if you prorate the yards, 4,219 yards last year, 319 yards last year, he's at 1,754. So the only thing from last year comparatively is maybe a little bit under on his yardage. Otherwise, he's having the same year last year on the Vikings. So if he didn't have his Vikings year last year, we'd all be going, oh my gosh, Darnold on the Seahawks is so good. But because we saw it last year at the Vikings, I feel like we're kind of not giving Darnold as much natural credit as what's the
Yeah.
words I'm looking? Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I agree.
I mean, and there's also the Geno Smith factor. Geno Smith played really well as a Seahawk, and we've all seen how much of a dumpster fire he is as a Raider. So part of it's like, well, maybe the Seahawks aren't that bad of
Right.
an organization on offense, what have you. But no, I think he gets signed. All right, let's move on because we do have a big thing to do today. So one other bit of quarterback news, which this one might actually have some fantasy impact for this year. All these others we're talking about for the future. The Saints have announced that they're moving on from the Rattler. The Snake's time is over. Tyler Shaw is going to start next week. So my question is, not that there's much fantasy relevance with the Saints organization in general, but what does this quarterback change do to the stock of Olave, Kamara, and Juwan Johnson, kind of the 3 players there that have done anything at all this year? What does this help them, hurt them? In a lesser extent, I guess Rashid Shaheed has not been explosive at all with the current situation. So does this QB change help them, hurt them, not make a difference? What do you guys think?
I don't think it moves the needle for me at all. I can't see. Maybe for a couple games, everybody's going to have a down tick, but then after 3 or 4 games, it's going to be the same old Saints. I don't think those guys were that good with Rattler. if you're starting Olave, great. He had a couple good weeks. He's going to have a couple good weeks with, the rookie.
So for me, what's the difference? The answer comes down to what's the difference between Rattler running an RPO and Tyler Shaw running an RPO. If Tyler's much significantly better at running the RPO, then I think Kamara and the running back gets boosted. And Jawan and Olave go a little bit lower. But I think this offense is designed for an Olave type player to where he'll be fine. Saeed's interesting. And also going back to Kamara with the trade deadline coming up, I've been reading for weeks now that the Breece Hall situation is holding up the Kamara trade. So if you're anyone who's listening to this podcast and you have roster space, unlike Vinny and I on our teams who have zero roster space, I would hold one of the backup running backs just for a week on the Saints, because when the trade deadline comes up in 6 days, 7 days, you might have the starting running back for the Saints. Same with Braylon Allen or whatever his name is in the Jets. And all you got to do is hold him for 1 week, guys, and you might have a starting running back. So I'm not really sure what it does for Kamara and Olave. I would just want to know a better mind. If someone can tell me, Tyler's going to be better at running the RPO in that offense. Because with, what's his name, my favorite offense coordinator and now head coach of the Saints,
Kellen Moore.
Thank you, Kellen Moore. Names always escape my head. Kellen Moore. I trust in Kellen Moore that he's probably seen enough of Tyler, that it's worth the switch, or he's trying to tank for more draft picks, and then we should all avoid all Saints players. So I don't really know. This one's tough. But if I had to give an answer, might be better at the RPO, which would make the running backs have a slight bump. That's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest concern, obviously, as an Olave owner in fantasy, is what's it going to do to Olave, because the Rattler was just peppering him with passes. Again, it was 8 catches on 12 targets for 50 yards. It wasn't great or anything, but they were at least a high catch rate and a high volume. And if he's not Shaw's guy, then, which I'm not saying he won't be, but you never know, because Shaw hasn't been playing with the first team, presumably, right? A lot of the offseason. So if he's not Shaw's guy and someone else is, maybe it's the tight end or something, I think that could hurt his fantasy value. I don't think Kamara is going to be that affected either way. Juwan Johnson, I think, just depends on how good of a passer he is. The stuff we saw in training camp, he was a very bad passer. But obviously a lot has changed since then. You're nervous when you first enter the league, so we'll see. But yeah, anyway, that was my last NFL news. Anyone else have any other NFL news they want to discuss before we go into what the segment's going to be today?
How much do the Ravens get? How many draft picks are the Ravens going to lose for their little cheating ways last week?
What do you mean?
So the Ravens last week had Lamar Jackson on the practice squad, and they listed him as full participant. But there's a rule that if you don't play with the ones and you play on the practice squad, the best you can be named is limited participation. So everyone and their mother thought Lamar was coming back last week, and he didn't. And Vegas was like, no, that's not acceptable. You cannot do this for a whole week. And so I think there's going to be a pretty heavy penalty. And I think the head coach, Arbaugh, came out and said yesterday, quote unquote, honest mistake. Yeah, okay, buddy. Okay.
Yeah.
Honest mistake. I think you had a better chance of lying to us than trying to be like, hey, guys, forgive me. I'm just going to be honest here. That was a clear mistake. Lamar Jackson listed as full participant probable when he's only playing on the practice squad. By the way, I did more research into it. The reason they do that is because you're only allowed a certain amount of reps in the new player labor bargaining agreement. Not new, but the one that they're under currently. And the starters get an allocated certain amount of reps, and then the practice squad gets a certain amount of reps, and it's literally like a 50-5 ratio. Like the practice squad gets 5 first team reps. So Lamar Jackson went out there and did 5 reps the whole week, and they put him as probable limited part. It's no, dude, he's not playing. Sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah.
So I just thought, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, that's all I was gonna say. It's just the Ravens were trying real hard there.
Yeah, the weird thing about that situation was the only people that affects is Vegas and the gamblers, right? Because if you're I've already forgot who they played last week. The Ravens, no, the Bears. Right,
Bears,
they were big favorites against the Bears, which by the way they still covered. But they were big favorites against the Bears because as we all know, Caleb Williams is trash can fire, just like Geno Smith. But that's neither here nor there. So if you're the Bears and you're expecting Lamar Jackson to play all week, and you get there and it's like, nope, it's going to be Snoop Huntley. Jackson's out. You're stoked. It wasn't like, oh no, we've prepared for Lamar Jackson and we're not going to be ready for Tyler Huntley. Like, no, man. You're like, all right, sweet. So like, they didn't gain any kind of competitive edge over.
The only thing I'd say to that, Alex, is a lot of these defensive coordinators, especially if you're the Bears and you look at your schedule, you've spent a lot of the offseason preparing for Lamar Jackson. So if you think Lamar Jackson's playing this week, you're instituting whatever you've prepared for over that summer. Hey, guys, this is the week where I spent, a month this summer preparing for Lamar. Now I got a week to implement it. And then you find out 2 days before it was for nothing. That's a little frustrating, in my opinion, especially if I was the Bears D coordinator. I'd be like, F you guys, that was dirty.
I mean, I agree to an extent, but like if Lamar's backup was, we'll use Joe Flacco because he's in that division and keeps moving around. If the backup was Joe Flacco and you're going from a running quarterback to a pocket passer, I'd be like, okay, that's a completely different game plan. But like Tyler Huntley is just like budget Lamar. Like he does all the same things Lamar does, just not as well.
That's so insulting to Lamar, Alex. I'm sorry. That is so double MVP.
Well, that's why I said budget Lamar and not as good. I was very clear about that he's not. But the point that I'm making is like, I don't think the Ravens changed a lot of what they do in the playbook because Huntley was out there, right? Whereas if their backup was if their backup was Zach Wilson, they wouldn't run the same playbook, right? But because their backup, like they're running the same play, so your defense that you schemed for Lamar should presumably still be decent against him. You might be more susceptible to like Henry running, but if you came into a game not expecting to have to stop Derrick Henry, that's on you, right? So I don't know. Yeah. I don't think it gave them a big advantage, but I do agree with you. I think it really messed with things in Vegas. But the irony being like, they wouldn't have been as big of a favorites, but they still more than covered because they won by multiple scores. So
I also would like to know for our own personal league, how many years does the top 3-4 quarterbacks taken in our draft play more than 6 games? Because right now Jaden's not playing. Burrow's definitely not playing, and Lamar's been out for 4.5 weeks ongoing. That's a month and a half. So if you have a 14-game fantasy season and you miss a guy for 5 weeks or whatever, and Burrow's been out the whole season and Daniel's been out for 5 weeks or whatever, what kind of fantasy value does that allow other teams to step up on, as opposed to if Miles was operating full pace right now with Joe Burrow? You know what I mean? Like, it's very interesting this year. I feel like because of the QB injuries, it's kind of flattened out the QB dependence, but I'll see how it goes at the end of the year, and I'll come back to that statement.
Yeah, it definitely affects you in fantasy, and I think that's why we kind of all were saying that Josh Allen. I think you don't go into a season expecting Josh Allen to finish as QB1, but you expect him to finish as a top 3 QB, and that's why he's like the safer pick of the home run hitters. Whereas, like, yeah. I've drafted Lamar in the past and it's burned me, and if you drafted Lamar this year, it burned you too. All right, we'll go around the league. Well, actually, Mitch, you've got a hard out in about a half hour, right?
Because I forgot to tell you, because of the lateness of leaving from work, he told us we could have an extra 30, 45 minutes to get into work today. So yeah.
Cool beans.
So all it's not hard, but it's still around 5:30.
Gotcha. All right, we're gonna go around the league. We're gonna try to do this quick though, because we have a segment we want to do that'll be more entertaining for people that aren't in our league. So, real quick, going around the league. Don't need to say much about this game. I had to play against CMC last week when CMC decided to have his first good game of the year in another league, and this year Saquon Barkley, who's been averaging less than 3 yards a carry, has not broken the century mark all year. His first carry from scrimmage goes for a 65-yard touchdown, and that about sums up this game, as I got drubbed by my dad, 104-66. Baker had his first game of the year.
Saquon could have gone for 0 yards, and you still would have lost.
No, he could have, but I'm just saying that. This was the morning game, and as soon as this happened, I was like, all right, it's over. Yeah, obviously the bigger issue is, Baker's defense did so well, he did not have to do anything to win. So having a quarterback that throws no touchdowns, pretty bad. Bo Nix once again popping off with another 4-touchdown performance. I mean, you don't get to play the Cowboys every week, but didn't play him last week when he popped off against the Giants. So who knows? I don't know what the deal is with Bo Nix. Bo Nix is very up and down, but he's going strong. All right, moving on.
The only other thing I'll say about that game, the only thing I'll say about that game is I'm happy if from a personal standpoint, completely selfish, that I gave Nolan a player that actually contributed, in a week where he actually needed. I'm saying he won, beat you, but like he needed Chubb this week. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm very happy that the trade with Nolan, because like Nolan's like the last person I want to trade and it be uneven for one side or the other. So. Yeah, I'm just kind of I look at that and I'm like, oh, good job, Chubb. Thank you. I'm very happy with that. Also, Knicks, going back to it, is I think that's the reason why Nolan's going to actually beat out maybe a team like me or like no Nick should not be getting 30 fantasy point weeks. Like that's insane. He had 40 something. He's had 80 something fantasy points the last 2 weeks, and it's just man, what a value pick. Good job, Nolan. That's all I'll say about that. And Alex, as far as you were due. No worries. Your team's still amazing.
No,
Yeah,
I agree, but
Pat's
I'm concerned, right? A lot. We don't know what's going to happen with Olave. Mitch, I really wish you'd accepted my trade. So, for those who don't know, last week Mitch talked about he offered T. Higgins for Luis's kicker. I pointed out that Eddie Pinheiro, going into this week, had the most points per game of any kicker in the league. I offered him Pinheiro for Higgins, and he ignored me. And you know who he picked up? He picked up Kaimi Fairbairn, who was my kicker before Pinheiro, and Fairbairn had like 4 field goals in the first half. Not happy about that situation. All right, moving on.
Okay, full disclosure, Alex. Well, yeah, full disclosure on that. I was waiting to see if I got Fairbairn off waivers because he was still on waivers when I was offering those trades. And 2, I was waiting to see if Lamar was playing because if Lamar is playing, my number 2 wide receiver is Zay. I don't need Higgins or Waddle, so I would have done the trade. So it is very unfortunate timing that Lamar didn't play this week, Alex, because I'm 100% starting Zay. So if Lamar was playing this week, Alex, I would have traded Higgins for either Pinheiro or Butker. I promise you. It's still on the table, by the way. Maybe not necessarily for Pinheiro exactly, but
I was going to say, hold on, if that's still on the table, I'll do it right now. But anyway, let's move on.
I can't start 4 wide receivers.
You can start 2 kickers if you want to. I'll change the rule. All right. Professor Chaos continues to roll. Man, every one of us who passed on James Cook is just a fool. That's really all I can say. Miles' bad luck continues as Cam Scattaboo, as we talked about, goes down. He can't catch a break at wide receiver, no matter how good his receivers are. He just can't get them to pop off when he wants them to. Ibuka and Jefferson combining for 10 points when they're both such good players is rough.
I can't wait for this to be my first 4 rounds next year. Jefferson, Ibuka, Warren, Scattaboo, and win my division.
Yeah, I mean, it's a running back team, isn't it? Running back with Burrow.
Miles is the running back franchise.
Running back franchise with Burrow and Scattaboo and Ibuka and Jefferson. There's no way he's going to get Jefferson. Jefferson and Ibuka are going to be top 26 picks next year, so it's not happening.
All right. Let's go on to the next one then. This game was a lot closer. But again, Luis picks up the dub over break. Couple of high scores and a couple of duds on both teams, honestly. These teams aren't very consistent, but they're very top-heavy, and Luis got the benefit of Breece Hall having a career day.
Passing touchdown.
Yeah.
Passing touchdown.
And for those who saw the pass, it should have been broken up, or maybe if the cornerback turns around, it's an interception.
For sure.
But a straight dime, all things considered. Like, I watched that, and I was like, wow, that is so risky, and he pulled it off.
Alex, a week ago, when we were picking divisions, I was like, I almost want to pick Luis. Don't look now, but guess who's got the 4th best breakdown in the league? Mr. Mile High Heist. He's got it's just not consistent enough, but his team has the potential every week. I get White will lose his job back to Bucky, but man, every time with Allen and your running back that can score 20 points or above on any given week, you can win. It's scary of this team.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I was making the same argument with Vinny off air, is that I don't think he's the team to worry about in my division. I mean, first of all, Matt's the team to worry about. Then you still have to catch me. Look, I faded down the stretch last year. Maybe we will again. I'll skip ahead. I think the serial killers are the team to worry about in this division. Sylvie is a game ahead of Luis in the standings, and she is also on, I think, a 4-game win streak now as she continues to roll. Yeah. Lad McConkey decided, you know what, I really hate Alex, but I love Sylvie, because look at his stats over the last 3 weeks. He's averaging over 11 targets and 8 catches a game over the last 3 weeks, scoring in 3 of the last 4. Just, as I told Vinny, his name is Lad, he can go play in traffic. That's how I feel about him right now. Whereas Chris can't buy a break. Huge, getting him 0 points.
And he dropped Waddle for Quentin Johnson.
And he dropped Waddle for him, yeah, and Waddle's popping. And then Judkins, who was a potential league winner, he has a bad outing and is now hurt. We'll see what happens there. So, but yeah, CJ Stroud went from dud to stud. Achan's been great. McConkey's come on. Pittman's been great. Teo Johnson's been fine. Like, I think this team is a lot more
The only thing I would
than we
say,
originally
Alex,
thought.
is like if you go to power rankings, she's lowest. And okay, Sylvie, this is nothing against you. This is just your team. Love you, Sylvie. Sorry, but as far as that division with you, Matt, and Luis, she's got the lowest points for and like the worst breakdown. That's the only thing I would argue. But yeah, I like her team.
Again, I'm talking about more what's happened lately. If you look at the
Sure.
last 3 weeks, she is trending upwards. Versus
sure.
like if you Anyway, let's keep going around the league. Austin laid as big of a dud as I did. He had a massive performance from May, and then did he start Collins, who wasn't playing this week?
Yeah, he
So we
doesn't want
talked
to
about this on the
waivers.
podcast last week.
He doesn't want to drop.
What does he do? Because he just knows that he needs to cycle running back twos. What does he do if Nico Collins is out? And he decided to sacrifice those 0 points to hope to have an RB2 for the rest of the year.
It's smart. It's the same thing.
I think it's smart if he's 5-2 or 4-4. At 2-5, needing a win, I'm dumping somebody. Pacheco, Marks.
Okay,
Goff.
then you're giving someone else in the league, Marks or Pacheco.
Right, but you're never starting those guys. Like I with Dowdle, Robinson, and Charbonnet, which by the way the Panthers did come out and finally said, you know what, we're going to wake up. Dowdle's going to get the lion's share of the carries moving forward. They came out and said that they're no longer going to be splitting him with Chubb. Dowdle's going to be a set it and forget it. Robinson's a set it and forget it, and Charbonnet's a solid player. I don't think you're ever starting anyone over those three guys, so you don't need either of these. If I had to drop one of them, probably Pacheco, just because this is a three-headed monster, whereas Woody Marks is at least in a two-headed situation. But either way, I would have dropped one of these guys. Like Vinny said, I mean, look, there was no one on waivers he was going to pick up to get 31 points and win, so it ultimately didn't matter. But to Vinny's point, as a guy who needed to win this week, I think you have to roll the dice and go for the upside play of try and get the win this week by hoping to get lucky off a guy off waivers, like maybe like a Tez Johnson or something. Again, that didn't work out, but I'm saying going in.
Okay.
So
I have an interesting question. Can we go switch to my team real quick and do the same thing? If Kincaid didn't play, who are you dropping on my team?
Sure. So we'll go to your team. We'll cover this game. Dak had his worst game of the year. You got the dub. Both you guys kind of had a solid core of players playing well, with the exception of your tight ends who both did nothing. But yeah.
Kincaid was a game time decision. Literally game time last week, didn't play 5-10 minutes before the game. This week, same thing. Game time decision, limited practice, did play. He only had one. Who am I dropping on my team?
I don't know why you're not dropping Giddens.
Yeah, you're dropping. Well, hold on.
None of us want Giddens.
I know what you're going to say. You're holding on to Giddens. He's the handcuff to Taylor. If Taylor gets hurt, Giddens, is potentially a guy. I totally get that, but that's the player I think you drop. Or if you're unwilling to drop him, let me. You asked me a question. If you're going to ask me a question, you have to let me answer it. Okay. If you aren't willing to risk Giddens because you're just so afraid that Taylor gets hurt, because the only way anyone picks him up is if Taylor gets hurt. So if you're not willing to risk that, then I think I would drop Zay Flowers. The reason being, I think that Rice is a set it and forget it. Jalen Waddle has been a monster with Hill out, and T. Higgins has been decent now that Joe Flacco's there. I think Zay Flowers is your number 4 wide receiver. We're in a 2 wide receiver, no flex league, so I would drop my number 4 wide receiver to have a starting caliber tight end against Vinny,
Higgins or Waddle?
who was a team on the... No, not Waddle. I would not have dropped Waddle.
So you would have dropped Higgins?
Well, I said I would have dropped Zay Flowers, but if you're not willing to drop Zay Flowers, I would have dropped Higgins, yes.
Wait, Zay is my number 2 with Lamar healthy. Zay is the top.
When he hasn't, other than week 1, Zay Flowers hasn't broken double digits fantasy points.
He's literally gotten 10 targets a week, and he hasn't had what's his name in a month.
Right, but first of all, he's only had 10 targets twice, and again,
he's 9, 9, 9, 10.
3, 8, 5, 10, 9 are his last 5 games. But the bigger issue to me is like he's getting those targets from a different quarterback. There's no telling that he'll get those targets with Lamar necessarily. I'm not saying he won't. I'm just saying, again, I would drop Giddens, but if you're not willing to drop Giddens, then the second person I would drop would be that. Or if you're not willing to drop either of those, drop the Seahawks D. No one, for whatever reason, no one in our league will play the Seahawks D. They've been on waivers all year until you picked them up, even though they've been great all year. Like, and I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm just saying, like, you had options if you had to. But also, I don't think you're in quite the same situation. Yes, you also needed a win, but like if you lost, you would only be a game back because you were tied for the lead of your division. You'd be a game behind. Whereas Austin, Right, your division was all 3-4 going into this week, right? So if you lose, you're a game behind, which is important, but it's not the same as Austin went into this week being 3 games behind and needing a win. Right?
Sure.
So,
The only thing I'm going to counter to you guys and Giddens is let's play the hypothetical. Taylor's hurt this week, okay? Who on that team is getting someone on that running back is going to have fantasy value, right?
right, but that's if Taylor gets hurt this week. If Taylor doesn't get
No.
hurt this week, then Giddens has 0 value to you, and you just didn't start a tight end for no reason.
Right. So if Taylor gets hurt this week, and with his usage rate and with his history, okay, we're also including that. If he doesn't or he does, why? Okay, Taylor goes down, right? It's going to be one of 3 guys. Now it comes down to a 32-year-old running back who has moved off of practice squad, or it comes down to an undrafted free agent who has been hurt the last 2 years on and off in Goodson, or it's the 5th round running back they drafted this year that Steichen drafted this year. One of those 3 guys is going to have fantasy value. It might be a split. It's not going to be all one guy getting the carries. I agree. But one of those 3 guys is going to be fantasy startable. Also, the other argument, and it's like, I don't know if it's Giddens over Goodson, or if they might just let Abdullah, depending on Taylor's injury, they might just use and abuse Abdullah for a week or 2. I don't know. It depends on the injury. But the point is I've preached over and over and over, back up your stud. How much does Nolan want Bigsby right now? How much did Miles want Dowdle? Like, how much, like, literally back up your guy. And if it's wrong, then it's not your fault. Like, I don't know the insides of the Colts offense, if they're going to go to Goodson or Abdullah, but I can trust based off what I can see and read that the 5th round running back that they drafted, they're going to give it to him. Goodson just came back off injury. So that's what I'm saying is I'm not dropping Taylor's backup the whole year. So that's not even a question on my team. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's different.
So again, like I said, you asked me who I would have dropped. That's who I would have dropped. But I also gave you the caveat of if you're not willing to drop him, then I would have dropped
Zay.
Look, if you trust in Zay more than Higgins, then drop Higgins, right? You were literally offering him for a kicker. So I mean,
that's what I do. Trust in Zay more than Higgins with Lamar.
So fine, but the point that I'm making is like in elite. This isn't baseball. This isn't basketball. Every win matters, right? So when every win matters, you can't be like, I'm just not going to start someone at this position. Yes, tight end is tight end's a much bigger crapshoot than wide receiver. Wide receiver, you're hoping to get 10 points out of your wide receiver. You're hoping to get 5 out of your tight end. So there is a point differential there as well. But look, sure. I'm never gonna go into a game and be like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to start someone who doesn't play. Like that, I want to win the game, right? Like, you know, and if that comes back to bite me because I had to drop someone, so be it. But it is what it is. All right, we've gone around the league. That's all the teams. That's all the W's. Here's what we're going to do today, boys. For those who recall, we did a mock draft to start the season. We mocked the first 2 rounds of our league's draft. And for those who are watching on YouTube, you can see it. For those listening, sorry you can't. But I will say, we went through and we all kind of picked for different people. We didn't pick for ourselves because we didn't want to give anything away. We only got 2 of those picks dead on accurate. I mean, not that we weren't like off on like a round where people would be drafted so much as, but like we only Jameer Gibbs and Amon Ra did we hit correctly. The rest we were wrong, but that's okay. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a mid-season redraft. We're 8 weeks into the season. Football season lasts for 16 weeks roughly. Fantasy football is 16 weeks, so we're at the halfway point. Now that we're at the halfway point and we've seen how things have played out, we've seen who's good, who's bad, who's injured, who's not, etc. We're going to go through and do a redraft. We'll be picking in the same positions we were. So Mitch will still be picking for the spark plugs to start us off at number 1. But we're going to go through and do a redraft and see what things would look like if we drafted teams today. A couple things about this redraft. Keep in mind that, now we know who isn't injured. We know who has and has not had their bye. So that may come into play. Things like that. But yeah, we're going to go through and do the redraft here. Give your reasoning. We'll also, have people argue against it if we don't agree. As a recap, for those who don't know, our league is different than a lot of fantasy leagues in that we do not have a flex position. So it's 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, quarterback, tight end, kicker, flex, or kicker, defense. And then it is 6-point passing TD. So quarterbacks are weighted more heavily in our league than a lot of other leagues, and it is non-PPR standard scoring. So that information is necessary for those listening. So Mitch, go ahead whenever you're ready. Kick us off. Who are you taking as the first overall pick in the draft if we were redrafting our teams today?
I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes.
Wow, Patrick
number
Mahomes.
1 overall?
Number
I've
one
always
overall.
said to you guys, if you tell me before a season, you tell me for a fact, you know who a 450 point QB is, I'm drafting him first overall. It does not matter to me. You just got to tell me. The problem is you never know who the 450 point quarterback is. It's not as consistent as you think it is. It's a little bit more random than you think. But since we're drafting in the middle of the season, he's got an average of 28.75 per week. That is above the 500.
41. 41.
He's on here? I couldn't find him. I tried to... Oh, I missed
41. So if you put him at that average and prorate it out the rest of the year, he's going to be over the 455, 470 mark, and I can win any DoD Super Bowl with a 455 QB. So as much as it pains me not to say Jonathan Taylor, and this league, these rules, these stats, Mahomes, lock it in.
Wow, that was unexpected.
You hosed my mock right there because I was just going to mock him to Cameron at pick 3.
Well, your mock is over because we're mocking it right now. This is a mock, just so we're clear. This isn't real. So yeah, because if I'm sitting at number 2, I'm windmill slamming Jonathan Taylor. I can't believe he's fallen into my lap. I think I've talked about this before. The best way to win in this league is to draft a running back in the first round, and just like you want to have a quarterback you know is going to get 400 points, I want to get a draft a running back I know is going to get 400 points because that's what Jonathan Taylor's doing this season. It's insane. So windmill slamming that. I don't think there's any argument here. So Vinny, go ahead. You're on the clock at number 3.
Yeah, there's no. I'm still just absolutely shocked that Mitch made that decision at pick 1. Listen, I get it. I think he is. You could have mocked him here at pick 2, and I wouldn't have thought it's egregious. To take him over what Jonathan Taylor is doing is wild. Like, this dude is on pace for an LT, Priest Holmes, Shaw Alexander type fantasy season, and is going to single-handedly win people Super Bowls. He's literally carrying Mitch's team on his back. Right now, Mitch has, like, no stable wide receivers.
I got 2 top 12 wide receivers. That's messed up. I got 2 top 12 wide receivers. Jalen Waddle is number 12, and Rice on average is like 4.
Yeah, both guys you've had for like 2 weeks, dude. So.
Well, tell Rashid Rice to stop getting so many felonies. Like, go on, sorry.
Well, okay. Cameron's sitting here thinking, damn, I really want him at Holmes. But he's going to take Bijan Robinson and still be pretty happy about it.
Yeah, Bijan.
Up until last week, which, if anybody watched the Falcons game, was absolutely atrocious. Bijan Robinson had him the most yards from scrimmage and was averaging, from a fantasy point perspective, second only to, I believe, Jonathan Taylor going into last week. And last week he just had a big dud. So Bijan Robinson, you're just going to lock it in. You're going to be stoked.
Tells you how big of a windmill slam Taylor was. Bijan Robinson is 70 fantasy points behind Jonathan Taylor.
Well, I'm happier windmill slamming my players and not Brandon Jacobs.
73,
that's a relief at this point of the season.
No, don't hate on Josh Jacobs. He's been great. Thank you very much.
No, I'm not. I'm just joking around. Jacobs and Taylor have both been a great. Sorry, Jacobs.
The fact that I'm getting pied in the face for drafting the number 5,
I won't
the number 5 fantasy running back at pick 11 is brutal. All right, moving on. All right, Mitch, you're back on the clock here as the Flying Penguins.
For me, don't tell anyone, but I had Kyron Williams and Chase Brown ahead of this guy. I did have James Cook ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs at 8 and 9. I'm looking at my overall, so let's just forget the fact that I had Kyron and Chase ahead of him, but I'm windmill slamming James Cook right here.
Yeah, we should all be ashamed of ourselves for letting James Cook fall as far as we did. James Cook did not go until the second half of the second round in this league. And he has just been an absolute monster. Currently RB3 on the year. But again, that's actual points. When you go at average, he's RB2.
Yeah.
So yeah, Team Phoenix.
Fun fact I wanted to say earlier. Although we only got 2 picks right, there are only 2 people we did not put into our top 24 last time. That would be James Cook, and we had Jalen Hurts instead of Nico Collins. But we had Nico and Puka were both 3rd rounders in ours. We had them at the beginning of the second in our mock draft versus the real draft. James Cook and Jalen Hurts are the 2 that we did not mock draft pre. So that just goes to show we did not even mock them in the first top 24 just based on how our mock draft went. So
Yeah,
mocked,
but we also have to keep in
Montserrat-
mind our mock draft. We were all trying to not give each other information.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's a little sus.
I'm not gonna mock James Cook that high when I was the only one high on him, and you guys are. So I was like, I don't know if I should reveal I have him as my 7th overall player.
Yeah. All right, that puts Vinny on the
Oh,
clock.
and speaking of that, I played Chris this week in the other league with Cameron's little brother, and I purposely passed on Jonathan because Chris picks right ahead of me in this league. DoD, he picked right in front of me, literally the pick in front of me in the first round. So I'm sitting there going, I want Jonathan Taylor right now, but I don't want Chris to know I want Jonathan Taylor. So I went Nico Collins over Jonathan Taylor, and I could be winning that league. So next year, can we please have DoD draft ahead of all the other teams, please? Because I don't want to be. Oh man, it hurts my heart. But all right, go on. Next pick.
Yeah, I'm so glad our listeners on Spotify and Apple Podcasts got to hear about Cameron's little brother. I'm sure that's super relevant.
No, I played
according to
Chris.
you.
And also,
Anyway.
you should. Chris changed his name to AJ Down syndrome and benched AJ. So.
And now we're trying to get canceled again. Okay, so Team Phoenix on the clock. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Team Phoenix windmill slamming Christian McCaffrey once again. So his team does not change. CMC currently RB2. No reason not to take RB2 when he's now the 4th running back off the board somehow in this draft. But yeah, I don't know. So far I have no real argument. I mean, I wouldn't have taken Bijan that high, but yeah, no real arguments with.
Is that because
The
Cook's
running
had his
backs.
bye? Is that because Cook's had his bye?
Bijan has also had his bye though.
Right,
No,
so
no, McCaffrey.
I go by average points, right? It's like points per game, so that whether or not you've had your bye. So if you go by points per game, it's Taylor 1, McCaffrey 2, Cook 3, Javonte Williams 4, Bijan is 5 in points per game, tied with Josh Jacobs.
But I don't know what I'm looking at, but James Cook is number 2. Am I looking at the wrong thing? An average?
I'm looking at average fantasy points per game. I don't know what you're looking at.
You haven't filtered by total.
Why is it 16.2 higher than 17.4?
Oh, sorry. No, you're right. I had it by total. My bad. Sorry.
It
There we
still
go.
doesn't change.
Yeah.
It still doesn't
But
change.
no, everything I said was still correct on the average, other than the
Yeah.
flop. But yeah. Point being, I think Bijan was a little high, right? He's tied for 5th, or tied for 4th, I guess. But anyway, Anyway, moving on. Professor Chaos on the block, except it's being controlled by Vinny. So Vinny, who's Chaos taking?
Yeah, I think this is where it starts to get a little tricky, trying to figure out. Okay, I think there was a clear top 5. And I think you're going to hate me for saying this because I know that you just got done saying Josh Jacobs at number 5. I am windmill slamming Jahmyr Gibbs right here. I think as the season goes on, the Lions are only going to get better. And Matt kind of has a flair for taking guys that have higher upside. So he's not going to go for the low floor of Josh Jacobs. He's going for Jahmyr Gibbs.
Our apologies to windmills everywhere. I don't know why I keep slamming you. But, okay. Fair enough. I mean, I can't argue with it. Jahmyr Gibbs is a solid choice there. Again, it's also what you think they're going to do in the future, not just how they are right now, right? If not, this draft would be a lot easier, right? If we're just taking from the top of the list. So yeah, makes sense that you do something a little different. If anyone has any major objections to any picks, obviously speak out. But if not, let's just keep the ball rolling. Mitch, you're on the clock for the Gummy Bears at pick 7. Do you think you're going Ashton Genty again here?
Yeah. See, in hindsight, I mean, if it wasn't hindsight, this is probably Jacobs and Achane somewhere in here. But with hindsight, I might go JSN here. I'm not even joking.
Ooh,
So
breaking wide receiver, huh?
I'm gonna go JSN right here.
Oh, I almost did it. I almost did it at 6, Mitch. I almost did it at 6.
It's just he looks so consistently studly. I just don't understand. I mean, I guess I should understand where and how it came, but yeah, I'm gonna go JSN here. If you
Yeah, he's
want
not
to
on
go
the
Jacobs or HN, Jacobs or HN, or maybe if Bucky wasn't hurt, you could still do a Bucky around here because that offense looks so good even with White. So I would normally probably go running back in the first round, as Alex has said, the importance of it. But I have now picked QB and wide receiver, so I'm sorry.
I just want to say JSN so far.
I don't think there's a debate of who number 1 fantasy wide receiver is.
Our standard league, not a PPR. If it was a PPR, it's probably even more of a discrepancy. 10 points, 15, 8, 19, 22, 18. We don't see that in standard. That is insane. His worst week is 8 fantasy points. Just crazy.
Yeah, sorry, my mic cut out. I apologize. But yeah, Jason's my pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid pick. I mean, he's not as prominent as running backs, but I mean, if you're going the 0 RB strategy, taking that number 1 wide receiver off the board, and yeah, when you're looking at the top available running backs, Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, Devon Achane, I think you're not as convinced on those guys as you are some of the others. And for that exact reason, now that I am on the clock for the Avengers, I am going to go quarterback here. And like I said, sometimes you got to take the safe pick, which would be Josh Allen. However, Josh Allen hasn't been as much of a monster this season. I'm still going Josh Allen. I just think he is the safe pick. I don't trust Hurts. Lamar, you never know when he's coming back. So I think you take Josh Allen here in a league where quarterbacks matter. Plus, I'm drafting as Mitch, and I know Mitch likes QBs, so I'm taking Josh Allen here.
I'm okay with this. I'm fine with that.
I thought about giving you Lamar, but I couldn't do it to you.
It's fine. You could have given me Lamar. I would have been happy with either of those.
All right.
This is where I think it starts to. It's still a little tricky. It was a little scary there for a couple weeks, and knowing that Luis is having some struggles at this position currently, and this is going to be somewhat egregious, and you guys can disagree. I am now in the market for a wide receiver. I am taking Jamar Chase here.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of going wide receiver early, as I've talked about, but I don't think it's egregious because, like, we just talked about JSN. Like, look at Chase's stats, not on the season, but since he got a quarterback. So if you go to Jamar Chase's stats over the last couple of weeks, it's 23, 15, 22, only 9, but it was 9 on 19 targets. He just didn't draw end zone, right?
Yeah, those stats are insane.
Yeah. The target stats alone are just wild.
I'm just shocked you would do Chase over, like, what if Puka wasn't hurt yet? I think Vinny would be taking Puka there, but
I like Puka. I just think it's really hard to ignore what Chase has done over the past 4 weeks.
Without Burrow?
This is one of those where it's really hard to kind of say, okay, maybe Chase still loses you a few games at the beginning of the season, but what are we even looking at here? 22, 45. He has 64 targets in his last 4 games. Like, what? Like, you extrapolate that to 250 targets on a season? Like, that's insane. Like, yeah, I'm looking at it where this guy is peaking at the right time, and he can definitely carry teams to it. You're not going to be mad about Jamar Chase.
It's not even just that he's getting the targets, but, like, look what the number 2 wide receiver on the same team is getting. 8, 10, 2. Like 2. He is fun. Like, Joe Flacco is funneling the ball to Jamar Chase, which you should. Look, if tomorrow the Bengals called me up and said I'm starting on Sunday, you can bet your ass I'm throwing the ball to Jamar Chase as many times as possible. So, I mean, I'm mostly just giving it to Chase Brown and trying to get out of the way. But, you know, if I have to throw, I'm throwing it to Jamar Chase. So, totally understand that pick. All right, Team Dinosaurs. Hasn't gone well for you so far, but let's turn it around, Team Dinosaurs. Who are you taking?
Oh, is this me?
Yeah, it's you. You went wide receiver in the mock draft, CeeDee Lamb. You went wide receiver in the real draft, Justin Jefferson. But now we've already had 2 wide receivers off the board. So, does he go wide receiver or does he take somebody else?
Yeah, for me, this turns into Puka, Rasheed, or Javonte. So I'm going to go with Puka.
Oh, no, you left him for Alex.
Puka Nacua. Let's see where he at here. Did we not draft him in our mock?
Oh, by the way, look at the original
we did.
draft.
Mid-second round.
There he is.
Look at the original Amon St. Brown for Nolan. That was correct, actually. I think that's exactly where Amon St. Brown went.
Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs were the 2 we got right.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right, so now the Sharks are on the clock, and guess who's picking for the Sharks? It's me, the Shark. I mean, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Running back to you drafting here, Alex.
I mean, you know, the guy that I was targeting from the beginning and that I was, you know, didn't tell you guys I was targeting, did he even get drafted in a mock? I don't even know. Where's he at? Where's my boy? I'll just copy him over here. Josh Jacobs. I mean, dude's been great. Last 2 weeks he's been hurt, so they've been spelling him, and he's still put up double-digit fantasy point games in both those games. Once he's back to being fully healthy, I think he's just going to keep doing his thing. I think he's been great. Yeah, I like a guy that you can set it and forget it because he's going to get the lion's share of the carries, and that's exactly what Josh Jacobs is. All right.
And yes, you did. You mocked him at me to me at 5 because you knew I would hate it. So.
Yeah, I will say when I did this mock draft, I mocked him to you at 5, knowing that he was who I was targeting. So
Sylvie should just slam Barkley and Henry here.
Yeah.
I mean, Barkley's one.
True. Yeah, but we still haven't redrafted Barkley yet, which is pretty crazy.
I mean, up until this week, he's been bad. Like, not like not like, oh, he just hasn't, gotten like the work, or he hasn't like things haven't gone his way, or he's been hurt. Like, no, he's played every game. He just hasn't been any good. Like, let's bring up the stats here.
So, on this turn, we're thinking about how are we going to set ourselves up for success. It's really easy for me. You cannot escape round one if you're going to without a good running back, and we have already seen what it looks like. We are going Javonte Williams. I mean, it is, at this point, you were halfway through the season. He's still getting 15 to 20 carries a game. He's getting touchdowns. I know he's touchdown dependent. He's not going to get you those huge, like, 30-point games, but lock this guy in for almost 10 points a week. So.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he wasn't on our list. Oh, he was? Okay, wow. I didn't think he was going to be on this list anywhere. Yeah, I just went and looked. Saquon Barkley did not break 60 yards rushing in any game other than week 2 up until this week. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to trust that guy right now. And now he's hurt. I mean, they're saying it's not serious, and hopefully it's not, but you never know.
Yeah, but just kudos to Alex. I mean, you get to roll out Josh Jacobs and Javonte Williams every week, and these are guys that we had this year in a redraft, knowing what we know as first-round picks. So, obviously, kudos to you. This next pick is really tough. Which way do I want to go? I think, I'm debating quarterback, but because of what we just talked about, and we have the one running back, it maybe falls off a little bit of a shelf here. There is still one more running back I would consider, but that person has not helped Sylvie to a whole lot of wins. I'm going to switch it up and go Amon-Ra St. Brown. You get a guy who can finish as a wide receiver 1.
Did we go 2 in a row?
What's that?
Does Vinny go in 2 in a row? I'm confused.
Yeah,
I'm drafting
for
for
Sylvie.
Sylvie.
Oh, okay.
So Amon-Ra St. Brown, I mean, this guy has double-digit points almost every game this season outside of a couple games where he still had 9 catches for 40 yards, 4 catches for 45 yards. Like, just lock it in. Amon-Ra St. Brown, easy. You get to roll out 2 guys that are going to score double-digit points in your core every week.
I mean, that hurts because Amon-Ra is who I should have taken in the draft and didn't. I was hoping to get him to follow me here, but I'll take another guy who's on my team. I'm just drafting my actual team, so I don't know if this is good or bad, but I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb hasn't he's not up there overall points wise, but that's just because he's been hurt. The games that he has played very well up until this past week, but that's just because Dak had a terrible game. They're not going to play the Broncos every week. He's not going to have Patrick Surtain on him every week. The games where he doesn't have Surtain all over him, he's been great, and I think he's the best wide receiver still available. So yeah, taking CeeDee Lamb here. I like doing the one running back, one wide receiver start that gives you flexibility later in the rounds, whereas if I'd taken another potentially high caliber running back here, like a Devon Achane, I'd then be pigeonholed into only taking wide receivers. So if we do end up in a situation where some quality running back falls, if I take it because there's no flex, it's just like trade bait or bye week bait. Whereas like I'm more inclined to have to take a wide receiver. This gives me the flexibility. So yes, it may give me a slightly less powered team overall depending on how the draft plays out, but it gives me room to maneuver in the draft. So I like being in this position.
For Miles, if my choices are like Swift, Breece Hall, Kyron, or like Pickens, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put Barkley here.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, nothing wrong with taking... if someone else wants to help out with, copy and pasting these names, Vinny, I know you have access to the spreadsheet. You could.
Oh, yeah, I'm just watching you do it. Here, I can do it.
Yeah, as a producer, maybe you could produce something for once. It'd be great.
Yeah, I don't know why I've just been yelling numbers. I kind of forgot that I have it pulled up and I've just been watching.
There are other guys you could probably put ahead of Barkley here, and we can keep having him draft, but he's not injured, and that Eagles offensive line is always a positive. I know the difference coordinator, but like I think I'd rather still have Barkley ahead of what other it's like you're gonna pick like what Achane or Swift or Breece Hall here is the next couple top 3 ranked guys. I think I'd still rather have Barkley. It's interesting right around here.
I just want to say something really quick to maybe just tell you even again how pissed off I am that Mitch took Mahomes over Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor right now would be on a points per game basis would be QB 8. QB 8 on a points per game basis. He's averaging 23.25 points per game. the next closest running back would come in at QB like 23 or 24 at James Cook. So you could literally have QB8 and QB5 if you take Jonathan Taylor number 1 overall. So.
Yeah, but let's say Mahomes and Nolan will get the pick again, I guess, later. Let's see Taylor and whoever you draft as your QB, and then let's see who you can get as Mahomes and whoever's left for Nolan's
Yeah, we'll have to
second
see.
pick.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, let's see.
I'm up with, we did Saquon, CD. Sorry, I was just kind of looking at that.
We give him one job and he forgets that we're recording a podcast. Unbelievable.
Well, no, I was looking at the stats. I'm still
I'm just
fuming
being
over the fact that Mahomes went pick number 1 over Jonathan Taylor, who is arguably having one of the top 5 best fantasy seasons of all time so far.
We're drafting in DoD league, right? So that's why I did it.
I think it's a little. I think Saquon was a little early, to be honest. But I know you're talking about Swift. I think this is a very unexciting. I think we're gonna dip back into the quarterback pool. This guy's averaging 25 points per week. I know that it looks bad and it's not great, and you're trying to figure out how the hell he's averaging 25 points per week. But we are going Jalen Hurts here, and I will find him, Alex, so that way I can do my job, my duty. But Jalen Hurts is my pick.
He's 3rd for TDs and has 1 interception on the year. So he's actually playing pretty well. And let's not forget here, you and I have had Hurts in our top elite quarterbacks, and you and I both had him number 1 overall 2 years ago. So putting Hurts there, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's the most unexciting 25-point average of all.
Oh, for sure. And the way he's looked, like you said, the first couple of weeks, it's like, how is he the number 3 fantasy QB? But good on him. And like he's not even putting a wide receiver in a relevant fantasy position.
Well, so that's not true. I don't want to start this argument again, but I will say,
okay, sorry.
AJ Brown. Like, I'm just going to show his stats. That's all we're just going to show the stats. And we're not going to discuss him.
No, he's been fine.
So AJ Brown, since we had that conversation, has turned it around. So if we look at the last few weeks, he had the 109-yard game, then he had a terrible game. This game was medium. Since then, 80 yards, 120 yards, a couple touches. Then he got hurt. So, I mean, he's back flying off the chart.
And then Mitch's favorite thing ever, injury alert, A.J. Brown.
No, I mean, he's dead on about the injuries. That's totally true. And then Devonta Smith, I think, has been okay as well. So, he is finally
passing.
He's been
the last couple of weeks, actually.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks, the last 4 weeks, I would say, they've been in passing.
I realized in our conversation in 2021, I think I had the years messed up with him. And then my concern with A.J. Brown was just the when I had him. It's not necessarily that he's a bad player.
All right, so now I'm on the clock. I'm drafting as Mitch. In the first round, I took Josh Allen. So now I need to make sure I pick up a stud running back. You got to have one of those to win this league. 0 RB is very difficult, and Mitch's strat all season has been to find wide receivers off the waiver wire, so I'm not going to draft one of those. So I'm going to go with Devon Achane, someone who, quite frankly, I was not high on going into the draft this year, but he has proven me wrong. And again, me not being high on him wasn't about his talent. It was I was worried he would get hurt. I was worried Tua would get hurt. Ironically, the one who got hurt was Tyreek Hill. Tua has played the whole time. Devon Achane has played the whole time, and Achane has been solid. So that's where I'm going, picking up a running back to pair with Josh Allen.
Nice.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, Mitch, you're on the clock for the Gummy Bears.
So this one, I think I'll go Rashee Rice.
Okay, I was going to ask. I wonder where he's going to go.
Double wide receiver for Chris.
Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chris is definitely going to lose, but I mean, definitely bold.
Fine. I didn't know I was just doing best available player. My bad.
No, we're it's a mock draft. Have you ever done a mock draft before?
And I'm just the best available player.
You literally just heard me give my analysis of why I took running back because I took quarterback in first round for this team.
Yeah, that's why I said okay, because I wasn't going to argue, but I would have not gone HN there. But yeah, sure, let's go. Chris, doubling up wide receiver like he always says he's going to do, but doesn't actually do it. Rashee Rice.
All right, yeah, I mean, look, Rice has been great the last 2 weeks. He's a potential league winner for people that did draft him, but yeah, this is going to be a tough spot for Chris, who's gone wide receiver. Because
he might have the number 1 and the number 2 wide receiver. I don't know.
Right, but the joke about wide receiver championship is because he went quarterback running back. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the quarterback he used didn't even win him the championship, Drew Brees. It was Mahomes in the 12th round. So let's just be real here. It's not even – he just went – yeah, sorry.
I will say I don't disagree with this pick. The one caveat that I would throw out is if we're looking at this moving forward the rest of the season, I get it. If we're looking at this like if we had to redraft the entire season, is Rashee Rice now a second round pick? Even though like he missed 6 games, we all saw the statistics. It was like over half those teams had losing records. I think it was like 75% of the teams had losing records that drafted Rashee Rice. So like, maybe I think yes, he is this level of a wide receiver moving forward. But I think the discount is a 3rd or 4th round pick.
Well, so sorry, maybe there's. I think we might have had 2 different ideas of what this is. I'm doing this as if we were to redraft today.
Oh, redraft today.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
So no,
Okay.
I would
think
take Rashee Rice off the board
Yeah.
right there if we're doing back to week 1. I'll admit that.
no, for sure. I mean, like, and he was a consideration for me here with CeeDee Lamb. I just think CeeDee Lamb is a safer, more reliable pick. Like, which is ironic because he's already been hurt. But I just think like Rashee Rice has been blowing up, but like you never know what the Chiefs are going to do. Like, you know, the Chiefs next week may decide we're going to feed Travis Kelce. We're going to feed Xavier Worthy. We are going to let Brashard Smith actually run the ball. And, you know,
I think it's I just trust Andy Reid is why I'm putting him there.
Sure.
More than I trust some of the other wide receivers.
Well, with that new piece of information, that makes my pick tremendously easy.
Jameson Williams?
It is something that we should have done maybe a little bit ahead of time. But we talked about this last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago. Derrick Henry, once Lamar comes back, is going to be fine.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be a top 5 running back the rest of the year. If he isn't, I would be tremendously surprised. Matt gets to pair Jahmyr Gibbs with Derrick Henry. He literally now in this redraft gets 2 of the original top 4 picks. And is sitting pretty with running back. So
basically, when we fake things, Matt still ends up with a good team. I just can't win for losing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I almost had a little
Chase
caveat about how I would have picked, Chase Brown just because it's Matt, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah. So Vinny's on the clock here, and even though I personally am not a big QB early guy, I know he is, and I'm drafting for him. And I am tempted to just keep running it back and take Dak because that's who you have, and I just want to draft your team for you. I think it'd be funny. But I'm going to go Drake May. Drake May has been great this season. I think I got this way wrong in the offseason. I was surprised that Austin took him as high as he did because I thought that was more of an upside. Well, excuse me, not high. He was the last person to take a quarterback, but I was surprised that he took Drake May before Goff, whereas I felt Goff was a safer pick. He could have gotten May later, but he was dead on. Good call by Austin. Drake May has been a monster. And, I think in a league where QBs are worth extra points, being able to pick up a guy who's currently a top 3 fantasy quarterback in the second half of the second round is great value.
So I would like to say about Drake May, first of all, I did not see it coming this big of a step either. The thing about Drake May, and he does have crazy stats like downfield passing and some other stuff that's like crazy, like how good is he? The one thing I will say is he hasn't played a top, like all the defenses he played are literally 25 to 32. He's going to play Atlanta coming up, and they're in the top 10 defensive statistically. So
what about Cleveland?
Right, but look at the schedule the rest of the way, right? So yeah, he plays Atlanta. He plays Atlanta, and he plays Buffalo. Look at everyone else he plays. They're all 20, green defenses, which means
I forgot he did play Cleveland this week. That's my bad. When I looked this up, Vinny, it was when I read this one, it was before this week or whatever. Sorry, I apologize. Before he played Sunday, so I'm kind of relaying over what I read last week or whatever. Cleveland is a very good defense, and that's very, very, very impressive. 18 for 24, and he's doing this with low passing attempts. So the only thing I'm concerned about is when you start playing some more elite defenses that hold him with the run. I don't know if he can throw, and he doesn't need to maybe, but I don't know if he can really throw 300 yards in a game. Don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on Drake May or anything. I'm just nervous. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I do think this is a good mock, Alex. I think I've mentioned this earlier. You're surprised that Austin took him as early as he did. He got drafted at the end of round 10 in our league. Yeah, I actually had him queued up. I was taking him with my first pick in pick 11. I had already picked in round 10.
Really?
I had him queued up, and it went May, Goff, Herbert, and Caleb Williams. I took Caleb Williams. I wanted May over all those guys because that late in the draft, you draft a young guy that has top 10 potential. Drake May apparently had top 5 potential.
Vinny, and I want to make it clear, I do like May a lot because in my biggest money league, I drafted him to back up Lamar. So I have May and Lamar in my biggest money league. So I do like him a lot. It's just something about him and that offense and who they've played. And I could be totally wrong. He might be the next greatest QB ever, but like some of his stats are too unreal. Does that make sense? It's like, yo, really good QBs don't have these unreal stats like that. Like he's either the greatest upcoming QB ever, or like he's got to come back down to earth somehow, some way, sometime.
Yeah. No, I get it. I
Yeah.
don't completely disagree with you on that.
He scares me. I don't know how to evaluate him.
It's crazy though. If you look at his numbers, okay. I'm gonna play a game. Patrick Mahomes or Drake May. 2,100 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
I mean, it's probably both of them, but I'm gonna go Mahomes.
Okay.
I'll go
2026 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Yeah, it's the same thing basically.
Yeah, crazy. Rushing yards, 280 rushing yards for 4 touchdowns. Which one do you think that is?
That's probably May, right?
May has more. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
If Mahomes has more rushing yards than
Mahomes
May,
does have more rushing yards. I don't know who has more touchdowns.
The
I
other
would
one is
assume-
250 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're basically the same except for 2 TDs. I do 280 to Mahomes.
So 280 is Mahomes. So
So I got
I mean,
pretty good
250
value of
though.
taking him at pick 20 instead of pick 1.
So I said that backwards. I would have put 250 and 2 at Mahomes. So May has lesser yards and lesser TDs.
yeah,
That's crazy.
He's trailing by 4 touchdowns and 75 passing yards and 30 rushing yards. I know that's not inconsiderable.
attempts,
But
if you're
but
looking
he's
at
like the second highest in both of those categories.
What are the attempts at,
virtually.
Eddie? If
So,
you're looking at it right now, what are the attempts? Per week?
51 attempts for May and 46 attempts for Mahomes.
Dang. Mahomes is running the ball this year. That's insane. All right. Well, yeah.
Well, his
I'm
team
gonna double-
can't run, so he's got to do it. But
I'm
yeah,
going to double down on Mahomes' first pick overall. I'm okay with this.
well, you're now on the clock,
Oh, sorry.
Mitch
Who am I-
Mahomes for the Flying Penguins.
Oh,
Just to
so
remind
we're
you,
doing it
since you
based
can't,
on-
since you haven't really grasped the concept of that we're doing a mock, I'll let you know that in the first round you took James Cook. So who are you taking here in the second round?
He took James Cook and I took James. Okay, well, if I'm Adam mocking, this is Malik Neighbors.
Come on, man.
He takes such good players.
You always find a way to ruin things. I'm not letting you draft Malik Neighbors. He's out for season. Come on.
He took Joe Mixon.
He did. He did take Joe Mixon. To be fair, for those listening, he did take Joe Mixon, but not in the second round. That was like the 10th
I'm
round. Come on.
joking.
He hasn't.
Also,
he
he-
hasn't noticed
he
that
ha-
Camp Scadaboo's on IR. Takes Camp Scadaboo.
Okay, take Scadaboo. That's a better one. I apologize.
No,
takes
he.
Scadaboo.
Come on now. Look, that's funny, but we're not doing that for the sake of the mock draft. And I will say he did have a legitimate reason for that. Audrey, his child, started crying. He had to go take care of her while he was on the clock, and he drafted from his phone. And when he was doing it from his phone,
I'm trying
he
to make a
apparently
joke.
didn't see the
I'm
news.
sorry.
So. I know it's hilarious, but I'm trying to give a little credit where it's due because he's playing well this year. So
I don't know for Adam if he passes this up, but if I were Adam in this situation, I would take. It's so wild for me to about to say this, but 3 years ago I had him on the Eagles and he kind of saved my season. I lost to Sylvie in the playoffs and Sylvie ended up beating Vinny and I for the Super Bowl. So whatever. But after that year, I said I will never own this player again. And I ended up taking guys like RJ Harvey and Hubbard in the 4th round over Swift. Matt was not afraid to take Swift. I think I'd put Swift here just because of the potential of this offense every single week and the amount he throws to the running backs together with Johnson. I think I would truly, I don't know if I'm missing anyone. I'm trying to look real fast. Like I know Abuka, Pittman. I know Adam likes Devontae Adams. But it's really hard, again, not to solidify a running back of Swift's caliber here. So I think, I'm being honest, I think I'd go Swift.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Okay. As long as no one hates it.
He's been kind of an animal. Like every time I look at Matt's roster, I'm like, oh, this team shouldn't be good. But Swift has gone 11, 22, 19, 12 in his last 4. So
yeah, I was gonna say it's also like keep in mind it's about what you think someone's projected to do moving forward, not necessarily what he's done
I think
so
he's
far.
gonna be And
yeah, I think he's like I talked about with Sylvie's team earlier. He has turned it on the latter half of the season. I mean, honestly, like other than he's had 2 bad weeks.
He still had 13 attempts that week.
Yeah, so he had 17 in week 1. Like I think Swift's been great.
Yeah. And I'm mad about it because I have put him on one of the Mitchell no draft lists because I was like, I got lucky with him on the Eagles. He's never going to have a year like that again. I know Vinny and I have talked about Swift extensively, that like he's the benefactor of right place, right time, right offenses. Like if there's other running backs in the league that had his luck, they would have much better careers.
Well,
But for some reason, Swift has gotten the luck.
I think well, it's more that he's a touchdown dependent player. So if you look the 2 weeks that he didn't score double digits were the 2 weeks he didn't score touchdowns. He scored touchdowns every other week. He gets less touches than a lot of other players that you'd want to draft as an RB1. Like yes, there are weeks where he gets 20 touches, but there's also weeks where he gets 12, which is concerning. You usually want a guy getting 15 plus. He's going to be an RB1, so he is a little touchdown dependent. But that offense has been able to score decent enough points. Yeah, I'm fine with the pick. I think it's great. All right, moving on. Vinny, you're on the clock. You're Yak of Lamb. As a reminder, in the first round, you took Bijan Robinson. So you can kind of go any direction here you'd like. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm sitting here jumping for joy that Team Phoenix is the worst manager in the league and took Drake May over Lamar Jackson at this point in the draft.
I mean, I don't know when Lamar Jackson's going to play again, man.
Apparently this week. So as good as
that's we thought he was playing last week, didn't we?
Yeah. As good as all those other quarterbacks have been, if we're talking about I'm going to take my second Raven in a row. The Ravens have been 2-6. They're still favored to win the division, like Alex said. In order to do that, they need Lamar Jackson, and they needed Derrick Henry. For Matt's pick, Lamar Jackson is just an easy.
You should have left him. You should have left him for Austin because then look at Austin's 2 first picks. Oh, Alex just changed it. Never mind. It would have been.
It would have been your team.
It would have been Taylor and Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he better play him this week, Vinny, because I'm playing against Matt, and I want to start Zay and Lamar this week. I don't want to start Higgins and Dart. Give me a break.
Yeah, and still score 134 points. That's fun.
I scored 120 last week and lost, so that's fun. Oh, by the way, I've played Miles and Sylvie, who are the 2 lowest scorers, and they both destroyed me.
Do it, Alex. Do it. I almost did it.
I was checking to see. Yeah, it depends on so it's tough because of the injury, but so I'm drafting for Austin. He took Jonathan Taylor in round 1, which means he needs, like, again, I like having the flexibility of taking a wide receiver here when you took quarterback. That being said, I think Judkins has a chance to be a league winner. Now, obviously, we don't know what the injury is, but if he's not, assuming he is going to keep playing, maybe he misses a week, what have you, this is a guy who's going to get you double-digit fantasy points every week. They're feeding him the rock. He has no competition in the backfield, and they can't move the ball passing, so they're just going to run the ball. And basically, this team from Austin's going to score 50 points a week just at running back. And then as long as I grab some guys late that get a couple of decent points at wide receiver, like an Olave or whoever, I think they'll be fine to run that out with these guys at running back. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah. No, I if he didn't get drafted, I would have thrown out an honorable mention. Like he should have squeaked in here somewhere.
Yeah, well, just because if you look at again, you have to work, think about who might do well. Like when you look at who's actually been performing at wide receiver, it's like, well, George Pickens, but now that Lamb is back, I'm shaky on that. Abuka scored touchdowns in his first 5 weeks and then hasn't scored a touchdown since. Michael Pittman, let's be real, none of us are going to buy into Michael Pittman as good as he plays. Devonta Adams is second fiddle on his own team now that Puka's coming back. None of us believe in Metcalf. I would probably be most inclined to take Jalen Waddle off this list, and it's like, do I really want to take Jalen Waddle? So no, I'm just going to take this stud running back. I mean, Quentin Judkins has more points than everyone up. He has more points than all but the top 6 wide receivers, even though he didn't play the first 2 weeks of the season.
What's fascinating for me, I know there's one pick left, but they all can't fit in there. Pickens, Ibuka, and Jefferson. It's fascinating.
I don't think Jefferson's in the conversation to me.
Okay, well then Ibuka,
he wasn't to me before the season, and he certainly isn't now.
Ibuka, Pickens, and Tyler Warren. Then one of those 3, I feel like we're sliding.
Yeah, no, I could agree with. There's one of those names that you mentioned that I also had in the Quentin Judkins category. So I'll let you pick your last pick to pair with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, we can all give some honorable mentions after the pick. I know Mitch is going to have to go soon, and we got to wrap the episode. But yeah, go ahead and make it.
Yeah, I had to go in like 6 minutes probably, but I will do Tyler Warren here, just because we had one tight end in the first one, and tight ends, the first 24 picks, there's always probably someone wants to have the advantage at tight end. I know that was the Kelsey strat in our league that won people championships for like for the last 8 years, the Kelsey strat. So if you're trying to do the Kelsey strat and you had to guess one of those, Goddard doesn't make me feel all warm. McBride does not make me feel warm. I know it might for Vinny and you, but it's got to be Tyler Warren then for me if I'm trying to go for I don't think Tucker Kraft can sustain his games. It's just he's like Jekyll and Hyde, literally. So if I'm trying to get an advantage every single week at the tight end position against the person I'm playing, I feel like this is. I mean, I would have said Ferguson. This is tough, but I'm going to go Warren.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I wouldn't go tight end here, but if I was going to go tight end here, I think it's Warren or I think it's Gadsden. I think it's one of those two guys. I don't think it's.
Well, then I'll do the Kelsey strat, which we've done a lot in this league. A lot of Austin, me, Matt, all of us play that Kelsey strat second round pick. I know Vinny's done it. So just to be consistent with our league, Tyler Warren is the last. He goes QB tight end. Sorry, Nolan, I apologize. I apologize.
Going the 0 RB and 0 wide receiver strat. Definitely a bold choice. All right.
A bold choice. Yeah. I'm sorry, Nolan. I apologize also to you, Alex. I feel like I was doing more of like best available player as opposed to constructing my first two picks. So I do apologize for that.
All right, guys. We do have to wrap it up because we got some people that got to go. Any final thoughts before we go ahead and close this thing out?
Yeah, just for me, just honorable mention. Mitch already mentioned it. George Pickens. I would have been fun to sneak him in. That would be 3 Cowboys in the top 2 rounds. I know you kind of joked about Dak Prescott too. I mean, Pickens right now on an average basis is sitting here at wide receiver 5. So,
and I want to point out that the 3 games he's had CeeDee Lamb back, 22, 8, 7, all 3 solid outings, even with Lamb back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish Higgins could have those numbers with Chase, but apparently Pickens is getting those numbers with Lamb. It's wild to me. Whatever.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I feel like that's a good honorable mention. Also, curious, like, if Dowdle is the lead back, let's say Dowdle's the lead back moving forward, does that change your top 24?
Go back to the list, Alex. I'll tell you where I put him if he's on there. Please.
Which list? This one?
Yeah, so if Dowdle is the starting, I will switch him out with DeAndre Swift.
Yeah,
I need to see one more week. I need to see one more week. Like, now that they've come out and said we're going to give him the lion's share of the carries, I want to see what lion's share means. I want to know if that means, hey, we're going to give him, 20 touches to 5 for Chubb, or if it means we're going to give him 15 and 10 now instead of 10 and 15.
Okay, so if we did this draft next week and he has 20 carries this week, I'm putting Dowdle ahead of Swift.
I think next week if he has 20 carries, I think he's a first rounder for me.
Oh wow, yeah. Okay, so I don't feel so bad. Yeah, okay, yeah. Maybe ahead of Barkley even.
Definitely ahead of Barkley for sure.
No, I was just gonna say I think like you're talking about him in that I might even take him above Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, like right in that area for sure.
Yeah, you first round turn type of player for sure. That's crazy to think. The Panthers with Canales consistently put out good running backs. Let's just accept that for a fact.
Yeah, I mean, just since Hubbard's been back, it's been egregious what they're doing. Trying
to Dowdle.
Yeah, and I do really appreciate what Canales came out and said. He came out and said, we wanted to give him a chance to earn his job back after the calf injury. But dude, even in Dowdle's like limited performance since he's been back, he still has a 4.7 yards per carry, 6.8 yards per carry, 17 for 79, 8 for 54 with Hubbard back. I mean, that's a first round pick.
Yeah,
for sure.
Imagine if the 13 carries that Hubbard got went to Dowdle with that average. I mean, yeah, you're not going to average that much necessarily, but you know what I mean. Like it's going to be.
You can average more than that, Alex, because if you look at the Barkley factor, you go 360. So technically, the more carries you give some of these guys, that could massively boost their production. Look at James Cook, give him some more carries and look at that production go up.
No, I agree, but I'm just saying, like, that's not necessarily sustainable. It could go either way. But anyway, we got to wrap it up. We got to say goodbye. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
No, happy 50th to the dungeon.
Yeah, hopefully
Happy 50th.
another 50 more, and who knows how else. Yeah, so just to recap, guys that got drafted the first time around did not get drafted the second time around. Ashton Genty, Justin Jefferson, which I think is the big standout. Bucky Irving because he's hurt, Nico Collins because he's hurt, Blake Neighbors because he's hurt, Jaden Daniels is hurt, Joe Burrow is hurt, Kyron Williams, Brock Bowers is hurt, and Chase Brown. So only a couple that have actually been playing the entire time. Peace out, everybody. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your rest of your week.
Deuces.
Bye.